In the first half of the game, the Chicago Bulls come back and play much better than the second half, led by DeMar DeRozan with 20 points and Nikola Vucevic with, DeMar DeRozan with 26 points and Nikola Vucevic with 20 points. The Bulls get a 112-106 victory against the Memphis Grizzlies. We're going to talk about it, break it all down, have some fun. But first, we got to play that winning intro.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
I see red, I see red, I see red, I see red, yeah, I see red, I see red, I see red, I see.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this contest. So the Bulls get a win against the Memphis Grizzlies. It looked mad questionable in there, but the Bulls used a really solid third quarter in which they beat the Memphis Grizzlies by only 3 points, and an even better fourth quarter, which they defeat them by 7 points to come back and take over this game and get a 112-106 victory. DeMar DeRozan has 26 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist in this game. Nikola Vucevic with only 8 rebounds, 5 assists, but 20 points. He had the highest plus-minus of any Chicago Bull with plus 18. And then Coby White going 6 of 12 from the field, 2 of 3 from three-point range, 6 rebounds, 3 assists in this game, and 14 points. The Memphis Grizzlies really did a really good job and keeping the ball out of Coby White's hands, trapping him almost as soon as he got the ball. That's why he did shoot an effective field goal percentage, but didn't have the usual point output that we're used to seeing. That's part of what Coby White's currently adapting to, is just understanding how to still, take over games at times, even with the defense keying in on him. But the 8 assists is the biggest thing there. He played a really good brand of basketball, was really smart about how he moved the ball away for those 14 points from Coby. Alex Caruso with 5 points, all of those coming in the second half of the game, and Ayo Dosunmu with 10 points as well. 19 points off the bench for Andre Drummond as well. We saw a little bit more of that Vooch and Drummond lineup out there together against the Memphis Grizzlies. He has 19 and 10 with 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block, leading that bench unit. And then 7 points from Javon Carter, who didn't play a terrible game. He did take 7 shots to get there. And then Torrey Craig with 3 points, going 1 of 4 from the field, all those being 3-pointers, but 5 rebounds as well in that. So the Bulls just, listen, I like the way that the Bulls executed much better in the second half of the game. At the halftime hangout, that was kind of the thing that we were focused on. It was the execution. In the first half of the game, the Chicago Bulls had 9 turnovers as a team. In the second half of the game, they got that down to 5 turnovers. So, that's a big thing there as well. When you look at points off turnovers, the Memphis Grizzlies only had 4 points off turnovers in the second half, whereas they had 16 in the first half of the game. So the Bulls limiting those turnovers, which is something I really wanted to see the Bulls focus on in the second half of the game, that helped hugely in this game. They end up only they only getting outscored points off turnovers by 5 to the Chicago Bulls overall. We won the rebounding battle 46-34, which is really good. We won the fast break battle 12-7. We tied the second chance point battle overall, and the points in the paint, the Bulls were getting demolished points in the paint. We end up closing that gap 42-48, still in favor of the Memphis Grizzlies. The key things here, the Bulls made adjustments in the second half of this game. We talk so often about Billy Donovan being outcoached. I'll go so far as to say he did get outcoached definitely in the first half of this game. But in the second half, the Bulls came out with a nice game plan, both offensively and defensively. You still had role players go off, which is something the Bulls need to look at. But the Bulls got right back in this game almost immediately in the second half. You got G.G. Jackson for the Memphis Grizzlies with 22 points off the bench in 30 minutes, and then 27 points from Jaren Jackson Jr. They're only 20-point scores in this game, and then they had 3 other players scoring double digits. When we look at the Chicago Bulls, we had a total of 5 players scoring in double digits in this game. So, solid as well. This wasn't a great game. I don't want to make it seem like it was better than what it was in favor of the Bulls or anything like that. It was tough. It was definitely tough to see the Bulls be able to only win this game by 8 points. But, when it comes down to it, you want the Bulls to execute better. And they didn't necessarily execute the way that you would have wanted them to see. But it is what it is. Much better performance. 3 players over 20 points in this game for the Chicago Bulls. And that's one of the biggest things, the most important things as well. The Bulls had a balanced attack. And like I said, the Bulls were able to come back and play extremely well in what they did. And I really like seeing the way that the Bulls executed this game, man. Yeah, like I said, I don't really have too much. Like the Bulls got the job done. That's the biggest thing. DeMar with 30 points, Vooch with 20 points, Kobe White with 20 points, Drum with, I said 19 earlier, 21 points off the bench. Like that's a balanced attack. That's how the Bulls are going to have to execute. And you got to give them credit where credit's due. I want to see Kobe White get that. I want to see him get that triple double. It's kind of eluded him so far. That's definitely going to come for him at some point. But listen, the Bulls struggled in this game. That's why, when you see the things like AK talk about it. But at the end of the day, man, they played extremely well down the stretch of this game. They played well enough to get the victory. And that was one of the most important things, man, to see this team come back the way that they did to get in this game and to win the game. Beer break. But no, it really is. It was good, man. Like I said, some disappointment in how some of the execution happened in the game overall, but I like the fact that we got a win, because there are games this season where the Bulls play like this, and as competitive, didn't pick up the win and with it being close, and the Bulls did that in this game, and that was hugely important. I feel like I know a lot of people are going to agree with that as well. You're going to get some of the naysayers, of course, that say things about the Bulls and oh, well, we were competitive and we only won by so many against the Memphis Grizzlies. Okay, cool. Sue me. It is what it is. But the Bulls got the dub. And we got some difficult games coming up on the schedule as well. We now moved to 2 games below 500. Atlanta didn't play today, so we stay, keep that distance that we have from them. But the Bulls going to have to keep playing competitively, right? You talked about competitive, how much AK said competitive. We now have a 2.5 game lead over the Atlanta Hawks. We face the Orlando Magic, which are 1 spot above us, but they do have a 3 game lead over us in that 8 seed. We play them on Saturday, and the Bulls can win that game. That will push them 1 game below 500 and close that gap a lot between them and the Orlando Magic for the 8 seed. So we're 6-4 in our last 10. We've won 2 in a row now. The Bulls are making some moves, and I got to give them credit for that. The Bulls are making some moves as far as not trade wise, but just the way that they're moving up the standings and getting wins where they can. But they got to stay focused, man. You can't keep having games where you let down like this in the second half, because I tell you what, some of these teams are going to be able to definitely take advantage of you if you keep that going. And we have Orlando, then Atlanta, then Cleveland, then that's it. Those are the 3 games we have left on the docket before the All-Star break. If the Bulls can win 2 out of those 3 games, you're looking at a team that's going to be 1 game below 500 at that time. So can the Bulls do it? We'll see. Like I said before, getting to 500 only matters so much, right? Can you stay above 500? That's the bigger question in this. Can you do enough once you get there to stay above 500? And if you can, how do you continue to build off of that? And we'll see what happens with that one, man. But all right, let's go ahead and get into your guys' comments. I want to see how you guys feel about this game, and we'll see. I like how we played in the fourth quarter. Definitely, Anthony. I love how in the second half overall, we really played as a team. We overcame some of the things that were shortcomings in the first half of the game, and we executed. And that was the biggest thing that I wanted to see from them coming out of that first half was execution. We did that pretty well. Michael Gallivan says, why do these Bulls do this to me? Because that is the nature of the Bulls, man. That's the natures of the Bulls. So Alex Lorez says, I know a win is a win, but this has to be the worst win of the season. No, there was another win that was something like this. I think, well, again, I don't know if the team had as many players out as the Memphis Grizzlies did, but hey, horrible attention to detail. That's a really good point. You got to pay attention to that defense. I mean, that detail. QMG Saint says this game was ugly. Listen, I'll take an ugly win over an ugly loss, though, right? And listen, some people's baby mamas are ugly. They got to go home to that every single day. At least now, like, we can go and maybe hopefully get a better win against the next team we play against. Listen, stop marrying ugly people. Stop doing that. But all right, let's keep it going. Last Son of Krypton says something was rotten about that court, but we played well in the fourth. That court is a eyesore. That is one of the ugliest courts that I've ever seen in my life. I thought we were going to give that game away. It definitely have the makings of that. Definitely had the makings of that. Let's see. Melvin in the building says, someone said Javon Carter looks like someone who sells cigarettes at the CTA Red Line, loose squares, and packs. No, you know what's even worse? He looks like somebody in Detroit who sells the bag of ice, like the one ice cube. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. I didn't even know they did that until a couple of weeks ago. We have to have a come to Jesus meeting because there's no way we need to be beating teams by close margins who we barely even have the 2-star players. that's been the story of this season, though, for the Bulls, right? This isn't any. I wish I could say this was outside the norm for this Bulls team, but it's really not. We've been playing close games against teams that, on paper, with how many players they have out, you think that we will win against. And so, I wish I could say that this is outside the norm, but it isn't. Matthew says, I don't care how the Bulls got this win. Yes, we didn't play the best, but we have lost these kind of games in the past. Definitely agree. There's something to be said about how you're able to get a win, right? That's it. DeMar DeRozan had 30, not 26 or whatever you said. I was looking at one of the quarter breakdowns. So the way the site that I use to pull up stats is Hoops OMG. And so you can use like half quarters. You can separate different quarters and look at the breakdowns there. I had a different breakdown up. So yes, he had 30 points. If I said 26, that's on my bad. As soon as I'm done watching this, it's first stop. What's the first stop? What are we talking about? I would like to see Julian Phillips more aggressive. I see he's starting to pass the ball too much. Listen, this was one of those games where, especially when you're playing against an opponent that you probably shouldn't be losing against and you're losing, I can understand a rookie who hasn't played a whole hell of a lot of meaningful minutes, way more here lately, may freeze up. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see Julian Phillips aggressive consistently, but keep in mind, these players are human as well. And, for a player that's kind of been in and out of the rotation, he doesn't have a consistent role. In this type of game, I can understand why a rookie would clam up a little bit. The problem that we have is Patrick Williams, who's been in the league for 4 years, sometimes clams up in moments like that, right? But, it comes down to it. Julian Phillips hasn't played a whole hell of a lot of minutes, right? Let's be clear here. He had a couple of games of being over 20 minutes, but for the most part, he hasn't played a whole hell of a lot of minutes on the NBA season. So there's going to be times of that. That's part of the growing pains of basketball, is to have those moments where you don't really feel as confident. You pass the ball out. I tell you what, G.G. Jackson, though, that dude has the mentality of a killer. Like, it just comes down to, now he's been playing a lot more minutes basically since the month of January, where he averaged 19 and a half minutes per game in the month of January. He's averaging 22.5 minutes so far in the month of February. But that dude has that mindset I would love Julian Phillips to have. So Melvin says, I've been loving the Drummond and Vooch chemistry lately. Having Thad Young or at least one more big at buyout to step up and give those two rest would be huge. I mean, if Thad Young's bought out, Danilo Gallinari's been bought out. Those are guys that definitely can fit that. And we'll see. King Cap, Pippen Jr. was a pest. Yes, Pippen Jr. defensively, I didn't know Scottie Pippen Jr. had that motor defensively. You got to give him credit for that. He's played really good, really good. Win is a win. I'm not going to complain as much about wins anymore. I mean, I can feel that. I can definitely feel that. Shay's in the building. Shay says, Haize, one of the best birthday gifts I have is having you as a friend. Whoa. First of all, I'm emotionally stunted. Don't come dropping no stuff like that on me, because I'm just playing. I appreciate you, brother. Happy belated birthday. I know your birthday was yesterday. Happy belated birthday to Shay, man. Hey, now we competed. A competitive win. Delbert said that hat and shirt raw as hell. I appreciate that, man. Listen, I told you I was in my gold era when it comes to Bulls gear. So I like that. The whole gold look has been a thing lately. So I know I had the white and gold, but now we got the black, red, and gold. So yeah, it is what it is. You'll be seeing more gold on me. The game was ugly, but the Bulls played well in the fourth quarter. Drummond, Vooch, DeMar, Caruso, Kobe, and Ayo played good tonight. Yeah, they did what they needed to do. What is Delbert talking about, bro? You got to stop with the crack jokes, bro. Stop with the crack jokes, man. By the way, it would be nice if when we had injuries, our team can go dumb and chuck threes as well. JJ with half of the fouling would be a top 25 player. He's so good. He is good. He definitely has to slow down on the scoring. I mean, on the fouling for sure, right? I wish the Bulls team could just play with consistent effort. Can't expect them to dominate a team they should, since it feels they always have to play to the level of their opponent. I mean, I know we say to play the level of the opponent, but I just really think it just comes down. We see this Bulls same thing against even good teams. It's execution. This team doesn't always execute, and it's almost like when they're down at the half, they wake up some. You think about the third quarters that we saw when we third quarters that we see when the team has a lead, right? They come out with a terrible third quarter. So what? This was definitely a one titty auntie type win. Ugly, but it's family, so we got to take it. That's crazy. That's wild. Do y'all see that one Pippen move? That shit was cold. That's funny. That one Pippen move. Hey, Haize, did not look like Kobe was not concerned about scoring. I mean, listen, Kobe has the poise of understanding how to affect a basketball game. That's the thing from Kobe White. He understands how to impact a basketball game. And that's been one of the best growth things to see from him this season is that, and that's why I said the time that Kobe spent coming off the bench the 2 seasons prior to this, I think really helped with him understanding the pace of a game, how to impact the game, right? Being a little bit more patient. Because when Kobe was coming off the bench, his role wasn't always scoring. Now, he always got shots up for sure, right? But his role wasn't always to score. So he had to learn how to play defense. He had to learn how to pass well, right? Not to say that he never did those things in the past and in college, but it helped him kind of learn the way to do that a little bit better. So we'll see what happens with that. Like Kobe's basketball IQ. I think that's the best way to bring it together. Kobe's basketball IQ is rising as well as his confidence in everything that he's doing. And because of that, you're seeing Kobe really just understand so much better how to impact the basketball game. So much better. Deanna in the building says definitely could have traded Carter for Pippen Jr. That's hilarious. Nobody's taking Javon Carter. Nobody's taking Javon Carter. You guys have to understand something. A player like Killer understands that he's not going to be able to score against a lot of teams. So he's going to try to affect the game in other ways, unlike Zach. Well, the thing is that Kobe is going to have to learn to score against every team. Not to say that he needs to score 25, 30 points every single night. Some nights it is going to be the 16. Some nights it's going to be 12. Some nights it's going to be whatever. But how else do you impact the game? You know what Kobe does do? He draws fouls. He passes the ball well. He rebounds the ball consistently well. And I would say this, and again, I don't want to do the whole Kobe versus Zach thing all the time to make it seem like we got to go against each other. But Kobe is a higher basketball IQ player than Zach LaVine. He just is. Now, that could come between Kobe White basically being a point guard his whole career, even though Zach LaVine was a point guard up until he got to the NBA. But I think that plays a part in it, that Kobe has always been a point guard. And you have to have a level of basketball IQ to be able to do that. Delbert says Kobe and Io too fast. Listen, those guys get out in transition with AC as well and Drummond. That's some fast. That's fast, man. Isn't it kind of worrying that Drummond has been almost playing better than Vooch most of the time? No, because their roles are very different. And Drummond's one of those players you can't force him to play any other game than his own. Vooch, because he does have the ability to shoot threes, sometimes is forced to do that by the way that they call the offense and sometimes to create some space for DeMar, and especially when Drum's out there. So it's not concerning when you understand the whys that go into it, how they play. Drummond's game is one of those games because he's so great at it and because of where it is out on the court, he's going to be able to play the same against every team. He's going to body people. So, I would love to see Vooch play a little bit tougher. Put an elbow on somebody from time to time, right? If you can get Andre Drummond and Nikola Vucevic to do the fusion dance from DBZ, it'd be the perfect center in the NBA. Literally, the perfect center in the NBA. Fortunately, we can't do that. OTR, DeMar may not be the player he used to be, but he's shown the game he can still be valuable playing a lesser role. For sure. He has more than enough ability to play, to still contribute to the team. Like DeMar's game, even with it declining some, is a game that he's always going to be able, as long as he can create that separation and get a little bit of lift, he's always going to be able to do that. Like he's learned how to pick angles and get to the free throw line and hit shots that are very difficult. Like that's not going to go away. And that's part of basketball IQ as well. When that physical skill slides a little bit, he's going to be able to rely on what he does better than anybody else. And that's that mid-range game. So, Haize, I felt like Arturas was unclear in his answers. He kept mentioning being competitive, but to what degree? I'm glad Casey Johnson and Jamal Collier, both local and national reporters, grilled him on the questions. I mean, what AK did was basically give a lot of political answers. That's just what he did. And to a degree, that's fine. You're going to understand, like, you're not going to give everything out. I know we would love to see and have a front office that comes out and say, hey, this is the deal we got offered. We didn't like it because of this. We didn't do that. But it's not going to happen. Right. And I don't like the way the AK's press conference came off. I understand some of it. I don't agree with all of it. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Like I said before, I'd almost rather you not talk at all. Show us, right? That's what it is. Show us. And what you showed us today is that you were content with going through another second half of the season with what we had on this roster. Bulls fans aren't going to like that. It is what it is. Now, your job is to now use these last 29 games that we have left to really evaluate so you can attack free agency in a more meaningful way and improve this team to be that competitive team you talked about there. Can you do it? You have the ability to. I don't doubt that they have the ability to. I don't doubt that AK is smart enough to, but will you? Are you willing to come off some players that you brought to this team? Are you willing to make some necessary changes to answer some of the tough questions to get to a place of truly being competitive, to truly contending, to get to that place to really, really be there? That means you have to make some tough decisions. And it seems like because AK made some tough decisions early that came back to bite him in his ass, that now there's a reluctance to make those tough decisions. You have to be willing to make those decisions if you truly want to get to the next level. And that's up to this team. That's up to the front office. That's up to the coaching staff. Hell, that's down to the owners. If this franchise really wants to win, if winning is truly what you want to do, you're gonna have to find tough answers to tough questions. And so far, they haven't shown a propensity to do that consistently. And we'll see how that comes about for the Bulls. Sick of people comparing Kobe and Zach, Vooch and Drummond, Zach and DeMar. Stop comparing our own players. What the fuck? Hey, listen, bro, it's going to happen. Like, I can just tell you, Ryan, I get what you're saying. Definitely feel where you're getting at, but it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. Because he said a lot of nothing. Political. Double Grady, would you say that Acme and Billy need to be corrected? That's funny. You've seen we are interested in Joe Harris to make the playoff push. I mean, I can understand it. Joe Harris is a career almost 43% shooter from three. What do the Bulls need more than anything? We talk about it a lot. Shooting. We lose a lot of games to simple math. We need shooting. So listen, it's a buyout candidate. They're not going to be perfect. There's a reason why they're cut, right? But you can add some shooting definitely at the bottom. Pat Bev was a buyout signing, right? And you can't say that he didn't help the Bulls on the back half of that season. It just becomes about what exactly do they bring? What's the exact skill set that they bring? And how much do the Bulls need that? For example, you replace Javon Carter in the rotation with the Danilo Gallinari, with a Joe Harris. If they can shoot toward their career averages, it helps. It helps more than Javon Carter pump faking 3 times and hitting a 1 out of every 15 3-pointers. But again, what did I just say with AK? You have to be willing to take the risk. And that is a risk. That is definitely a risk. The Bulls do have a better chance of winning the game if they are losing at the half. It really does seem that way. Really seems that way. Agreed. AK gave very political answers to me. It just seems like he has an intangible plan that solely relies on the players we have just better rather than making moves to construct a team. Well, the thing, like, I get it, and I understand what you're coming from with that, and I don't disagree with you at all. But in looking at it from the standpoint of AK, like he spent a lot of assets bringing this team together, and I have no doubts that the Bulls could have made some moves at the deadline if they were willing to give up picks. The Bulls are now safeguarding their picks because they gave up so much for a team that ended up disappointing. And you got to understand that even as a fan in our frustration, they gave up 3 first-round picks that at least one of them, and Franz Wagner, turned into a player that absolutely could help this team right now. So because of that, you gotta understand it to a degree. I get it. We want the front office to make moves, but you also need to, what they didn't do well is safeguard your future. And the last thing you want to do is make a move for Bogdanovich, for example, and have to give up a first-round pick, and then he either leaves, he either gets hurt, he starts sliding at being over 34 years old. You have to do those. You have to review those type of things. So with the unique situation that the Bulls are in, they don't want to give up assets. They didn't want to trade AK because they want to try to keep – AC because they want to still try to be competitive. It could have moved on from Drummond, but then you don't have a backup center, and you see in like today's game, Drummond's hugely important. And then on like the DeMar thing, I get it. I heard they want to re-sign DeMar DeRozan. I understand that. That may be something that comes back to bite them in their ass, but we'll see. We'll see. Is Joe Harris a good defender? Fuck no, he's not. No, he's not at all. But listen, Javon Carter was supposed to be a good defender. He's been absolutely god awful for us. Did you see about the report where it said ownership was ready to rebuild? Knowing AK didn't do nothing is crazy. I think the report was credible. Well, AK said it. He has the permission to rebuild if he chooses to. He doesn't want to rebuild. But keep in mind, a rebuild isn't going to save this either. There's something to be said. I get it. And like I always say, what a rebuild really does is removes fans' expectations. It doesn't do really shit else. Yeah, you may get a higher draft pick, but it doesn't guarantee you're gonna come out with a star because of it. How many first overall picks end up winning a title on the team that they get drafted by? Not very many of them. I think it's like 4 in NBA history. So I get where he has the. It's not that the front office wants him to rebuild; it's that he has the green light to rebuild if he chooses to do so. But I understand why he doesn't want to do so. You have pieces here in Kobe, AC, Io, who are showing you a lot. You got veteran pieces in Drummond who can still play. Zach, I get it. He waxed a little poetic about Zach LaVine. We'll see how that ends up turning out. But rebuilds aren't as easy as what people do. You want to be bad for 3 to 5 years? That's what a rebuild is going to mean. And I can understand why AK doesn't do that. He didn't do that in Denver. Denver never won less than 30 games after they traded away Carmelo Anthony. And it took luck. Make no mistake about it. It took luck. He also drafted well outside of getting lucky, but hitting on a pick in the second round that ends up turning into an MVP, that's huge luck. But even without that, they still built a playoff team. So it's positives and negatives to everything, right? Everything. I like DiVincenzo or Harrison Barnes. I don't think either one of those guys are getting bought out. I don't think they're going to buy out DiVincenzo. The Knicks just signed him. Harrison Barnes, I think, is on an expiring, so he could technically be bought out. But no, did he just sign a new deal this summer? But I don't think he's going to be bought out either. Do you think the Bulls are good enough to get in the 6th or 7th seed? I think if they would have started off the season playing this way, if we didn't have that 5-15 start to the season, which I think that's what it was, maybe it was 5-16, even if we would have won 8 or 9 games over that time instead of going 5-15, that would have changed things drastically for where the Bulls stand right now. I do think they are good enough to, with the way that they've been playing, that almost 660 win percentage over since December. But it's the ground. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it up. We'll see if they can stay healthy. Get healthy first. Stay healthy. Maybe they can. Rebuilding is only good when there's a generational talent. You're depending on to turn your franchise around, like Wemby with San Antonio Spurs. Yeah, and that's another thing. This is not the draft to go full rebuild for. There's a reason why so many teams felt comfortable trading first-round picks in this draft, because the talent in this draft isn't shaping up to be the best. And so because of that, this definitely isn't the year to go rebuild. Now, next year, let's say for some reason the Bulls get off to another slow start. With Zach LaVine coming back, let's say they move on from Zach. They decide to move on from Vooch, trade, get his most assets back, tell Kobe White, I'm sorry, Kobe, but we're trying to get you your running mate in Cooper Flag. That may be the year to do that. Yeah, we overpicked the San Antonio Spurs. It would have to be top 10 for them not to get it. But that's a player that's willing to go rebuild for. This draft, not really. You're down on Javon Carter, me too, but I'm hopeful he could play better when he knows when his minutes are. I think of how Derrick Jones Jr. was up and down when his role was unclear. He's third best on the Mavs. Well, keep in mind though, DJJ still always found a way to impact the game. Regardless of his minutes, when he got in, he always impacted the game. Javon Carter, let's not act like Javon Carter's minutes are hugely inconsistent. Like, no player is going to get, when you're a role player on the team, your minutes aren't always going to be the exact same every single night. But Javon Carter's getting minutes every single day, every single game, I should say. So I can't get that excuse. It'd be different if he was like in and out of the lineup. He got some DNPs or whatever else it is. He started off the season having a very consistent role. He started off the season getting 15 minutes per game. consistently in that season, in the first 2 months of the season. Right now, his minutes are inconsistent because his play is inconsistent. So I can't give him Bell on that. I can't. But I understand where you're coming from. First, I know you're trying to get attention, but first of all, if you're going to spell my name, spell it right. And like, so that's the first thing. You're trying to troll and you're doing a terrible job at it because your mama dropped you on your head. I bet you have a long ass head because your mama didn't shape your skull when you were young because you didn't have a brain and she was afraid she was going to crush the little bit of shit you had in there. So no, my head is not bigger than my body because I'm fat. So that right there is infactual as hell. Secondly, spell the guy. You left this comment 4 times and didn't spell my name right any of the 4 times. You, sir, or indeed an idiot. So if you're going to troll, try to troll better because otherwise your mama may get fucked tonight. Keep it pushing. Now, with that said, Javon couldn't even guard a player who was shorter than him this game. That's crazy. And his hairline was worse too. His hairline was worse. The hairline was terrible. Terrible. If you absolutely had to pick a buyout shooter, Joe Harris or Evan Fournier. Joe Harris. Listen, Evan Fournier, I don't trust. I don't trust Evan Fournier at all, personally. Yeah, I just don't. I don't trust it. Don't trust it. Shay says, I don't know if anybody cares to know this, but the defense is much more efficient when DT is in the game compared to Javon Carter. That doesn't surprise me. Javon Carter is just trash. He's dookie. He's dookie. Javon Carter is dookie, bro. Like, he's been bad all season long, fam. Like, he has the occasional game, but come on, man. What are we doing here? Derek White's father really did show. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's wild. I'd rather struggle at the beginning of the season and fix it and then struggle at the end of the season. Struggle at the end of the season. I mean, I agree with you, right? And I think that happens to a lot of teams. I think just sometimes it's more magnified or not based off the expectations of the team, right? A lot of teams start off slow in the season, and then they're able to get in rhythm as the season goes on and eventually get into a better spot. So Javon Carter is Taco Bell in the morning. Okay. All right. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? That's crazy. Taco Bell Dookie, bro? Like, that's oddly specific. How much Taco Bell do you eat, fam? You eat a lot of Taco Bell. Huh? That's crazy. That was oddly specific. We should have released Javon Carter and re-signed Denzel. That's crazy. That's wild. Do you think when Passive P came back, will they still play Drummond and Vooch more? Yeah, I mean, listen, well, I don't know if they played them together as much unless it's like specialty lineups, but Patrick Williams is coming back to a role, period. He's coming back to a role. But did you notice that every time DeMar changed his hair, he got a bad game, then got to change his old hairstyle? I don't know if that's actually accurate. Would you be interested in having G.G. Jackson on the Bulls? I thought he'd be a decent pickup to develop. How he signed? What are you going to steal him? You going to steal him? Like, that's not how it works. You don't just walk in the building and be like, yeah, let me just pick up that G.G. Jackson. I'm going to go ahead and just put that over here. Like, you trying to shoplift a player, bro? That's crazy. That's crazy. This man just said he was trying to shoplift a player. I'm okay with us getting another shooter in the buyout market as long as he has the size to play power forward. Oh, you need that size, huh, Shay? You a size person? No judgment. No judgment. No judgment at all. We got no judgment for you. Everybody know when the Taco Bell and White Cat. Whoa, that's crazy. That's crazy. Fans ask the darnest questions. Fans ask some weird questions. They ask some really weird questions. I thought he's still on a 10-day. My bad. No. So G.G. Jackson, they drafted G.G. Jackson. He's not on a 10-day contract. I think he's on I don't think it's a 2-way either. Maybe it is a 2-way. 2-way is probably what it is, but they're still going to have his rights because they drafted him. He said, "I get away with theft at Forever 21, so the NBA shouldn't be any different." That's hilarious. That is funny. That's crazy. I think he can't be restricted already. He just got drafted. Let me see GG Jackson's contract because I think y'all tripping. So, whoa, they did only sign him to a 1-year contract. That's risky. That's really risky that they signed a second round pick to a 1-year contract. He still will be restricted, so let's keep that in mind. But wow, that's like what they did with you remember Wesley Matthews, because he was originally on, was it the Jazz first and then he signed with the Portland Trailblazers, or vice versa? But that's like what happened with Wesley Matthews. He was a undrafted, they signed him, and then he was immediately like able to go to free agency and got paid. So hey, somebody may be coming for GG Jackson. It may end up being Shea, because Shea needs that size. He needs that size. He said, "I get away with theft." I already read that one. You left that twice, or that was just me? The chat refreshed on me. Yo, Haize, you're the best. Listen, I appreciate that, man. I'm just crazy. That's all it is. Big Diesel in the building says, "Who do you think the Bulls should target in the buyout market?" Already talked about this. Danilo Gallinari, Joe Harris. That young, if he is bought out, would bring an interesting thing. But again, I don't really know. I don't know if I want him back. But hey. If Sanogo gets called up, do we have to cut Terry Taylor? Not that I really mind, just curious how it works. No, because we have an open roster spot. So, and even then, like they're both signed already. So no, we wouldn't have to cut anybody to call up Adama Sanogo. Memphis would be dumb to not re-sign him after. Well, it's not that they just won't re-sign him, but you got to keep in mind, once somebody's unrestricted, they get options, right? So it's not just up to the Memphis Grizzlies. It could get dangerous. That's what happened with Wesley. Go and check out what happened with Wesley's Matthews. I can't remember if it was Wesley Matthews' first or second year in the league, but he was in a very similar situation. I don't remember he was undrafted or a second round pick, but he signed that deal and he was able to basically immediately go back. Yeah, he was undrafted. So he played, he played that one season in Utah. So keep in mind, I thought it was one season. So in 2009-10, he played all 82 games for the Utah Jazz his rookie year. Averaged 9.4 points per game on 48% shooting and 38% from the field. He immediately hit restricted free agency, and the Portland Trailblazers offered him a contract that the Utah Jazz just could not match. So, hey, because you got to keep in mind, because he hasn't been there 3 years, you don't have the full bird rights. You have early bird rights, meaning that you can match any deal up to a point. You still have to have that salary cap space, though. So if, for example, I don't know the Memphis Grizzlies salary cap situation off the top of my head, but let's say the Grizzlies have $10 million in salary cap space. If a team came and offered GG Jackson $12 million per year, the Memphis Grizzlies would have to either then cut salary from their team to be able to sign him, or they just wouldn't be able to sign him even though he's a restricted free agent. So it can get interesting for them with GG. GG Jackson is turning heads. It can get really, really interesting this offseason. The Bulls won't be involved, though. Don't worry about that. The Bulls aren't going to be involved. But we have to stay under the luxury tax, of course. If we caught up Sanogo, would that put us over? No. So Jamal, Sanogo signed to a contract. So keep that in mind. His contract is his contract. When you're on a two-way contract, you can play up to 50 NBA games. There's only 29 games left. So because of that, he hasn't nearly reached that max. So they don't have to do anything new with his contract. He signed, he's on the books. That two-way contract that allows him to come and play some NBA games. So no, it wouldn't affect the luxury tax bill at all, because his salary is already on the roster. I mean, on the salary sheet. I'm not gonna lie, I would use that disabled player exception Lonzo had to keep Andre Drummond. Well, it expires before then, bro. Expires before then. Hey, shirt goes hard with the matching hat. Boy, stay fly. Hey, listen, come on, y'all know what I do. Plus, I hate that the Chicago Bull is so low, but you may not be able to. It doesn't come on camera, so this is one of those special shirts. It's for the year of the dragon. So there's like a dragon that goes through it here, but it's like it's you can only see it in certain light on the shirt. But if you guys search Chicago Bulls Year of the Dragon, they have it. Let's see if I can find it real quick for you guys. They have it to where you can better see it on the promo, but I saw it and I immediately had to have it. It was a special drop by Michelin Ness. I think you had to buy it like within like an hour or something. Let's see, Year of the Dragon. Year of the Dragon. Let's get this up. See, I don't think it shows it really good on this either. There it goes. You can see it better on that one. Let's see if I can save this. Yes, I can. Oh, you know what? I can just pull it up. Why don't I just share the screen? Making it more difficult on myself. So you'll see that there's a dragon right here at the bottom of the shirt. Oh, shit. It's not going to. It's not going to let you see. But yeah, it's Year of the Dragon. There's a little dragon design on there. But dope shirt. Dope shirt. Had to get it. All right, let's see what else we got. Hey, did you see what AK said about Zoe? He's messed up. No, what did he say? AK said something about. I honestly, if AK said something about Zoe, I didn't see it. Let's say Zoe comes back exactly how he was his first season with us. Do you think we start him with Kobe and Zach, or does he come off the bench? Ooh, that's a real. He's not though, right? And you guys know I'm very literal, so it's hard for me to answer the what if questions. It's part of my. I feel like I'm on the spectrum a little bit. That's part of my spectrum thing. You know, people that's on the spectrum don't like being asked why questions. My brain doesn't work well with like what if questions, but I would say this. I think you may have to try to start him, right? Maybe. But then Kobe's so good on ball. I don't know. I really don't know. Respect Brody really got all the Bulls drip. Hey, listen, I do this. Haize, thanks for explaining. They were saying on CHGO that there may have to be some maneuvers if we wanted to a buyout guy. Even though we have a roster spot, we're up against the tax. Glad Sonogo could still. Yeah, Sonogo. So anybody on the roster still. So yes, they are right. We are basically right up to the luxury tax. I mean, I think if don't quote me on this 100%, but I think we're like less than $1 million up to the luxury tax. So that would mean if the Bulls do sign a buyout candidate, expect Terry Taylor to get cut probably too, because even though we have an open roster spot, I just think that they're probably still going to look to clear up some of that space so they're not in the luxury tax. So I got to say it. This man Haize don't miss with the hat shirt combos. I appreciate that. Zach would be traded, so it wouldn't be an option about that. I ain't going to be shooting guard and Kobe starting point guard. No, you can't just assume Zach's going to be traded. Because I don't think Zach will be traded this offseason. We're going to start off the season with Zach LaVine on the roster for sure. Let's see. AK said be competitive, and that what now since the poor start after installing a new offense. If this isn't competitive, I don't know what fans want a first place team with the snap of a finger. I understand where you're coming from on that one, Rob. Definitely can understand where you're coming from. But all right, so I'm going to go ahead and get ready to wrap it up. Got to get ready to go do Locked On Bulls, and I am tired. I'm not even going to front on you. It's been a long day. Not that y'all care about my personal life, but my actual full-time job was busy today. It was trade deadline day. Before we even started the pregame show today, I dropped 4 videos on Chicago Bulls Central. I did my daily show. We did a live stream for the last 30 minutes of the trade deadline. I then posted a video of the Bulls not doing anything in the trade deadline. And then I posted a video on the buyout candidates and AK's press conference. That was 4 videos. Since then, I've done 3 more with the pregame, halftime hangout, and postgame shows. So listen, I've been killing it today. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, man. I love you guys. Go Bulls, see red. I'll be back tomorrow. If you guys can, make sure you're following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end everything on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks